Hello, I'm Julia Cordova. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I super appreciate it. So last week I kind of flipped from, yeah, buy the dip to, I don't know. And this week I'm again a little bit, I don't know. But I'll talk about some levels and what I'm going to do. I will make a case for bullishness because it is there. Case, but it's there. And I'll make a case for bearishness. So also, we pretty much got the exact top of gold last week. How good are we? We are good. So I'll talk about whether or not I'm going to buy the dip for gold this week. I'm not definitive about it, actually. But I'll talk about why, and I'll talk about what the levels are. And so with that said, there's going to be a lot of this week because it's FOMC week. So I will talk levels, I will talk plans on a chart by chart basis, and let's go from there. You ready? All right. Okay, let's start by looking at the big picture here without any of my crazy lines, just the MAs and Elon Musk's top tweet. Okay, so you can see here, this isn't a very bullish candle. It's still a higher low for now, so it's got that going for it. But these MAs are starting to cross on the weekly. Some people are talking about a death cross on the daily, but I don't take a whole lot of stock in that stuff. So instead, let's go to levels. Okay, so I've basically been buying this buy or die line when we get there, and then sort of taking profit at some point above it because I've been holding my positions a little bit like hot potato because of all the volatility. So that said, the way that we closed on Friday, I did end up buying donuts or basically YOLO calls or short-term calls for this coming week that I will probably take profit on rather than hold all the way through if there is profit to be taken. Okay, so anyway, for this week, the buy or die level is 41.88. What we see here, and I showed you this on the bigger, well, the no line chart, but really what we see here is if it comes back, the more that ES or SPX comes back down here, the less likely that this is actually a bottom. So I didn't move this over here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So basically, if we get below this range, which is right now very tight of 4188 and 4183, there's not a lot. It can, of course, turn around and get back higher, and that would be bullish if it sort of retakes the support that it loses. But there's not a whole lot of support here on the weekly this week until 3973. So basically what I'm doing is when I think it reaches sort of an extreme, I buy extreme low, I buy calls. If it reaches up here, I will buy puts to protect myself just because I have started scaling in on some individual stocks. But I don't know that it's actually not, I don't know that we're actually going to breach these levels. So I'll be happy if the if those puts that I buy, if it comes up here, go to zero. I really will. Okay, but I'll probably tell you when I do it on Twitter anyway, so you can watch that. Let me look at the daily. Okie dokie. So I didn't move this stuff over because I'm terrible, but anyway, 4179.75 is the next support here on the daily. But I'd really prefer that we gap up and then kind of come down, close the gap, but then go right back up. That would be my preferred bullish scenario because I want to be bullish because I don't want to be bearish. I just don't want to right now. But I mean, I will be if I have to be. It certainly seems like there's a case to be made for much more bearishness. And I kind of feel like unless we get back above and close above 4,300 this week, then potentially we're going to come all the way down lower than here. I hope not, but that's sort of my thought. Okay, so now let's look at the hourly. I almost twittered about it, but I didn't. But you know, the third time we got back above this trash pivot and then was like, nope. I was like, oh no, that's a bad sign. And we just could not turn around. So anyway, I did buy calls right around here for right around this area. So hopefully at some point this next week it gets up there. I would like it to, and then we'll see how it behaves if it does. Okay, so, all right, oops, more of the same. So let's look at NQ. This is the weekly. All right, so same dealio on NQ, even kind of more dire looking. It really, in order to maintain bullishness without going all the way down here, it really needs to gap up, fill the gap, and then go right back up and regain this gavel level. The gavel level, remember, was the measured move after we fell out of this channel, right? And then we went whoop right there. And then we're like, ha, no, just kidding. And came all the way back down to here. And now, you know, higher low still, but it looks dire. So it needs to gap up, in my opinion, and then go. It needs to be, in order for it to be bullish, it needs to be kind of like one of these green, you know, big old green candles where it's like, psych. Otherwise, it could come down all the way to this 1266 level. And as long as it then regains this 13076, then it'll look like it has some potential. Okay, now let's go to small caps. I'm really proud of myself, guys, because look, I nailed almost the exact bottom here this past week. I didn't Twitter about it because I'm not been trading it because it's a little too choppy for me. But anyway, now if you look here, we had something similar happen after this candle. We had a doji similar, and then we had something that looked like this next week. So, okay. Below 1924.8, I don't think it's bueno. Okay, but you know what? Small caps is so weird. Potentially it could be, but seems to me like that's last call for bulls right there. If it gets above 2093.2, then I think I'm going to start to get much more bullish on it. But for now, everything's turning down, and it looks dire. Hopefully we don't have a repeat of this week here, but who knows? I don't know. I've definitely started scaling into stocks. Okay, so here's a case to be made for bullishness so far. Now, we are at the very bottom of this ascending triangle right now that I identified a couple weeks ago. And then we talked about being at this mid-range resistance, which, wow, that held up, unfortunately, right? But anyway, it's still teetering on that. It just needs to keep closing above or near this 38,704, and then it'll be okay. It's not confirmed that this is bullish. However, even though this is a bullish formation, it's not really a confirmed, you know, yay, everybody in, breakout, until it's above 44,300.6. But so far, it's doing the thing. It's trying. It's maintaining this RSI support as well. So, you know, I'm sort of in it until I'm out of it. And so I'm still in it right now. All right, let's look at Ethereum. Same dealio. It looks like it's kind of trying to do the thing, but it's certainly not bullish at all until it gets above this smaller term key, which is 2960.78. But before that, we have to get above 2632.72. I'm not even sure if I just said that and I was serious about it, but I was. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, we need to get above this 2632.72, and then it'll look much better, I think, short term. But let's see. All right, now let's look at, this is Tesla. I don't know why Tesla came up and not Doge, but that's okay. Anyway, this is Tesla. So last week, I bought a back test of this blue line here because I do think it looks like a miniature bull flag, don't you? Anyway, I bought basically calls, short-term calls for this next week, and it started out great. I was up like 30%, and then I was down by the end of the day on Friday. So we'll have to see what happens on Monday/Tuesday, but these are the levels I'm watching short-term. Below this 778, and it's, I think, no bueno. Of course it could get there and then bounce up, but that's sort of the level I'm watching as the bottom of the flag. And any more, maybe 2 more days at the most, and then it's going to start to look like it's too long of a flag for the pull, and it might break down. So those are the levels that I'm watching on Tesla. A breakout would be 843.88. Okay, now let's look at ARK. ARK looks very dire. When it got to this level last week, I bought some calls because I was like, well, it looks dire. You know, we had some volume build up here before, and let's see what happens. But then the close on Friday was just wonk wonk. So I have some bazookas ready to go at that this gap down under here, 40.20 and 4202. Usually what happens if something comes down and starts to fill this gap, it'll fill partially. It'll look like it's going to fill the gap, or if it does fill the gap completely, it'll go below the gap. So that's what I'm watching on those, but I'm going to, and I mean, I talk about busy, probably just means I'm buying calls, and not necessarily short term, but just like, all right, you know what, this is okay, come on, really, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know, but anyway, that's what I'm doing. All right, now let's look at XBI, because I also scaled into this past week. We closed just exactly a little bit above where I thought it needed to do. This looks very bullish compared to the indices, compared to everything else, but it's still ugh, bleh. So anyway, this 8494 is sort of the key pivot for this week, above bullish. And then let me just go ahead and put this in there. Although, I mean, it could get, yeah, I mean, 80.91 is the bottom of this channel. So that's sort of the level to watch if you're a dip buyer and haven't bought into the dip yet. I'm personally gonna, I think, wait a little bit. I've been scalping Labu, which is the 3x version of XBI, and then just scaled into XBI. But these are sort of levels I'm watching. And then, of course, the next resistance isn't for a while. So it's all the way up here at about 100. All right, now let's look at Doge. Because I'm out of order, I'm sorry. Anyway, it looks like crap. So I don't have anything to say about it other than these are the levels I'm watching. 0.1078, and a breakout is, it's getting lower and lower that it has to do to get broken out, and then it's not going to have a lot above that, but a breakout would be 0.12218. Okay, sorry about that. Here's GDX. All right, so yeah, this is a doji candle, which is on high volume, but that doesn't concern me too much just because of the range of the candle. However, it is, you know, pretty high volume compared to these past weeks. So the reason I said I wasn't sure whether I'm buying the dip right away is because it could potentially get all the way back to this 33.2 level just to get out some of the late bulls. But at any rate, the levels I'm watching are 36.9. That would be a back test of the breakout. If it starts to get way below there, 34.21 and then 33.2. I don't think it would get all the way back here this next week, but I do not know. I did reduce my position dramatically, and I would like to add back. I'm just not sure I'm going to have to watch the price action of, let's say, gold, for example. I mean, you know, I was pretty close here. No huge cigar for me on that one, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna, yeah, that was good. A plus. But anyway, a back test on the weekly of this breakout would be 1950.9, but the level to watch that if it really comes down here would be 1926.1. However, if it poops, this support here on this purple line happens to coincide with this. Remember I said it left a gap when it opened. It never quite closed that gap, and I said, oh, come on now. And I'm going to make, you know, so I'm going to say if it does get down here to 1888, and I hope it doesn't because I still do have some long in it, but if it does, then I'm going to buy the freaking crap out of it, because look, it's going to align with the 9MA. It's going to be a gap fill just around this area, and we'll go from there. But it did, after I even tweeted that, hey, it didn't hold this, but of course then it closed right on this 4-hour support, which is 1991.8. So above 1991.8, it's still bullish, right? Below that, we've got a chance at this gift line, which coincides with this. And then below this 1926, it could absolutely get to 1888, at which point I will be buying it, I think, hands over fist. All right, but I have to go with smaller time frames. I'll Twitter about it. Silver, same dealio. It left a gap a couple weeks ago. The gap is at 24.15 all the way to 24 area. So that's sort of the area to watch if you are interested in it, and if it gets down here. If not, a back test of the bullishness will be first 25.395, secondly 24.945. Okay, but that's the key, right? Below that, it's still bullish because look at the curling up, but it's a little bit like rah, rah. So, but silver is so twitchy, and silver has such large ranges, you know, I mean, so I need to include all of these pivots in order for us to just go with it. But yeah, this 24 area, I think is a great opportunity to buy if it gets down there. I do. All right, let's look at XOP and oil. Oh my gosh. I squeaked out of my oil. I mean, I did more than squeak out. I did really well on my oil puts. However, I kept my XOP put. So anyway, the levels I'm watching for this week are 114.97. So 115 basically would be sort of near-term resistance. And then support, it's all the way down here at 95.65. So I'm not sure I'm going to mess with it because it's so twitchy, but I'll have to see. If it gets to an extreme, I will take a position either low or high. That's for sure. Now, XOP, I did keep my puts in, unfortunately for me, because I was like getting a little greedy. But basically, who knows what's going to happen here. It hasn't quite gotten to my target yet of 138.47, and it's not quite a fakey breaky below this 119.93. So back below this 119.93 and wah, wah, in my opinion, okay? But if it holds in this area, then who knows? This is my next resistance. Okay, let's look at natural gas. Okay, well, we had a kind of a crap start to the week, but it just really bounced off of these MAs and went back up. This is the weekly. So breakout this week would be 4.894, but so far it's sort of bounced off of this previous gap that got filled, but so far it's sort of, and that's why I marked these off, because they seem to still work even after they're done. But 4.894 is resistance on the weekly, and 4.52 is support on the daily. Okay, let's look at Joe Coffee. All right, so with coffee, unfortunately, another sort of down week here, but it's still not that far out of the channel. And this went up out of the channel to the upside and then came back down. So it's possible we go down out of the channel to the downside and come back up. And there's a gap here now, yay, between 63.27 and 64.73. So because this would be triple bottom, not a bottom at 59.64 though, I'm hoping that it gaps up and then doesn't come back down here. But if it does, 58.59 is a back test of this breakout from down here, and then it's going to form what looks like what are they called? Megaphones. Okay, so 58.59 would be a very good opportunity to buy, in my opinion. However, if it does not hold that all the way down to 54.84 and 52.07 is possible, but let's see what happens. These are the levels I'm watching. Back inside of the 62.35, and swing, needs to hold it, but swing. All right, that's it. Yay. Okay, let me make myself big. All right, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you on the interwebs. Okay, bye.